You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Chris, the hands are back. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 238 of the Battered Heroes podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, as always, Mr. KBD and Mr. Daniel Solana. Let's start from my left to your right. Mr. KBD, how are you doing, sir?
I'm chomping at the bit for some soccer in pink. That's what I'm chomping at the bit for. I feel like we haven't gotten football in a while.
I think it's weird that you say that when you're wearing the teal kit, but sure.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, you're talking about you need some pink and you're wearing green. What's up, bro?
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is that one of the reps reached out to fans asking for fans to like chime in what jersey or kit they want the team to wear in one of the games. So I guess that's happening. So,
when did this happen? I don't get emails. I did not receive this email.
I know you received it. I'll go ahead and
did they text it to you?
No.
His rep texted him like, "Hey, yo, buddy, I sent you an email. FYI."
Yeah.
You got to be buddy with your rep, Danny.
I have to. What's going on, Solana?
Not much, man. I had a lovely night. Took the fam out to a lovely Miami dinner, Pollo Tropical. Got ourselves some tropi chops and some quarter chicken white meat. You got to love it, man. Got to love it. Beautiful evening with Pollo Tropical.
I got a hot take on that. I think Pollo Tropical chicken is awful. Super dry, mad overrated.
You know what? I agree. And we could get into this at the end of the episode like we usually do with the gas bagging. But real quick, I used to hate Pollo Tropical until I realized it did crispy. And once I started getting the crispy the few times, because my wife loves Pollo Tropical, I started getting the crispy whenever she goes. Crispy is pretty good.
It's awful.
Good to know.
No, but no, the regular stuff, I'm with you. I think it's overrated. I'm not a big fan. But anyway, all right. So let's get into the topic of the day, or the last 24 hours, 36 hours, give or take. Messi not called up to the Argentina National Team for the World Cup Qualifiers in September. They're going to be playing in Argentina, where I guess they'll be celebrating the Copa America, and then they're playing in Colombia. Messi was not called up to the team. Now, a lot of people have different speculations as to what that means. Some people saying we're not going to see him until the playoffs. Other people say we're not going to see him until the end of September. I am not sure what to think anymore. I still think that there's a chance that we see him in Chicago. Honestly, that's what I feel. I still think that there's a chance we see him in Chicago. For sure, he won't play on Saturday. So I put it on to the chat and to you guys. I'll start with Solana first. What do you think this means, the fact that Messi is not playing in the World Cup qualifiers in September?
Not surprised at all. I mean, if you saw the guy's ankle, 6 weeks ago.
That was July what? That was like mid-July.
Almost 6 weeks ago. Yeah, almost 6 weeks ago. I mean, look, I'm not surprised. It's two qualifiers. They play Chile at home on September 5th, and then they play at Colombia away on September 10th in Barranquilla, 4:30 in the afternoon, Miami time, the heat. Let's be real. You know, Messi's the type of player where if he goes, he's going to want to play the 90 minutes. And if he's not ready to play, then I think it's a smart move by Scaloni to just leave him in Miami, allow him to continue to, his rehab and get him healthy enough for the next two qualifiers, which, will happen in October. And there'll be, there won't be any Inter Miami games during that next two match days. So I think it's a smart idea for what Scaloni's doing.
Chris?
I also think that this is, I think with an ankle sprain or an ankle fracture, one of the things that I think is happening is I think the swelling has come down. He's just, it's an injury to the leg area, to the foot area. So it's something where he's going to have to kind of get back accustomed to playing and putting the weight on there comfortably, right? And he's trying to take his time. And I think it's like you mentioned in the Spanish show, Solana, I think that there's a good understanding that, hey, we're not going to blow this guy's ankle out of the water just to play him against these teams. And I think that Messi seems as if he's okay with not participating or getting selected. So
some of our battered fan media correspondents, unofficial, like Gus, is saying that in Argentina, some people are saying that he will get some minutes with Chicago. I always assume Chicago's the day because that's a big game. He missed it last year, and I'm assuming they're playing in Soldier Field. I have to confirm. Let me double check that right now, actually. But I don't think that he's gonna. They are. I don't think he's gonna miss that 2 years in a row. I think he's gonna play that Chicago game, even if it's just for a couple minutes. And everybody that's saying that because he's not playing for Argentina in September, that means he's not going to play until end of September, October, the playoffs. I don't think that's the case. I think that some people might not want to admit it, but I think Messi might want Inter Miami to do okay. Like I think he might care just a little bit, and he might want to help his team out. Even though some people may think that he doesn't care at all about Miami, I think he might care just a little bit, and maybe he wants to get on the field with his boys, with the Barça boys. We got Miami.
Absolutely, Chris. I mean, and I'm looking even ahead at Argentina's schedule, and the next 2 match days after that, they have Venezuela on the road, which Venezuela is playing a lot better, but it's obviously one of the weaker teams in CONMEBOL. And then the match day after that, they play at home against Bolivia. So if I'm Argentina and I'm Lionel Scaloni, that's the goal of getting Messi back, because those are probably 2 of the weaker opponents in CONMEBOL, where Messi's probably going to get better minutes. And if he already has some games under his belt with Inter Miami, obviously he's going to be coming in much better shape than had he called him for the qualifiers in 2 weeks. It doesn't make any sense. He hasn't played a minute in 6 weeks. So, I mean, there's no reason for him to take up a spot, is basically what I'm saying.
Well, and you mentioned also something, Solana, on the Spanish show, that we're talking about the next 2 games for Argentina. They're going to be brutal. They're going to be some rough games. So this isn't going to be like these sort of like a friendly or whatever. This is like competitive football.
But they're in first place right now in qualifiers.
Yeah.
And this team is deep enough where they can beat a Colombia, or look, they beat, technically Messi started, but he only played half an hour, I think, more or less.
Yeah.
Like they beat Colombia without Messi. They can beat Chile without Messi. Like Inter Miami needs Messi more to help win than Argentina needs Messi. Not to say that
absolutely
Argentina couldn't use him, obviously, but Argentina can win without Messi. Inter Miami, although they've shown that they can win without Messi, we need him more than Argentina does right now. Absolutely. And I know it's country over club always, but they just won't Copa America. I think he's okay missing these 2 qualifiers and then just a couple minutes in Chicago, which I think is what's going to happen. I have no idea, but I have a feeling that's what's going to happen.
Let's also remember, guys, that this is around the same time where Messi got injured last year. So it wouldn't, surprise me that the Inter Miami or, staff is in constant conversations. We mentioned it last night on the Spanish show with the Argentina staff, and there's some sort of communication going on there, because obviously both club and country want the player to play. But knowing the history of the player and having so many games back to back, and also looking ahead at Inter Miami's schedule, where at the end of September you have 3 games in a week, 2 weeks in a row or something like that. So look, there's got to be a lot of conversations that our ears are not privy to, that are happening behind the scenes. And I'm sure that everything that happened last year, Inter Miami has learned their lesson, and they're probably working something out with Argentina.
My name is Jeff. I know you love to say that name, Chris.
My name is Jeff.
Yeah, he said he's not coming back until NYC. I don't know, man. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but I just can't imagine him missing the Chicago game. Like Solana was saying, I forgot if you were saying it on the Spanish show or you said it at some point. The picture on the boat, his ankle looks pretty good. I know he's already doing individual workouts here at the team facility. If he's doing individual workouts, I mean, 10 days from now, I think he could give us 20, 30 minutes. Now, if he's not healthy enough to do it, I wouldn't want him to. Don't get me wrong. But at that point, it's been 6 weeks, probably a little more than 6 weeks. I think that he's going to be good enough to go. And then after that, 2 weeks off before Philadelphia.
I have something I want to mention here. Didn't Chicago get shafted a Messi appearance before?
Yeah, last year.
So last year they got shafted, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to personally just put this out there in the ozone layer, right? Chicago doesn't deserve a Messi game with the kind of hot dogs that they eat. Okay, let's just get that out there. But if there's anybody that does get shafted, I hope it's Chicago. Even though I think he's going to play, but I hope it's Chicago.
Well, if he doesn't play, they get some sort of discount or some money back.
They got a really good deal last year. I remember
they promised something again this year, or they did a concert last year, right? They did a concert before the game. It was something.
A concert before, during, after. They gave them 100 pounds of food for free, drinks up the wazoo for $5. I mean, a deal that you'll never get anywhere in Chicago, like Perro Caliente, and they're flooded over there.
Sean, you're a crazy person. If Chris, I've been to Chicago. I went there one time. Never ate the hot dogs, But if they are what Chris says they are, absolutely no way that those hot dogs are good.
Get out of here, Sean. You're done.
I've never had them either.
Put up the picture, Chris.
I've never had them either, but I'll be honest with you guys. I think New York glizzies are the way to go.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%.
I mean, there's nothing better than a dirty water dog glizzy in the middle of New York City. Let's be real.
Let me tell you something. I love them also. All right. So, percentage. Give me a percentage that Messi plays on the 31st against Chicago, or he plays against Philadelphia on the 14th. Actually, don't give me a percentage. Just tell me. Do you think he plays against Chicago on the 31st, against Philly on the 14th of September, or we don't see him until the end of September, maybe October?
I think we see him in both games. I think you'll see him
Okay.
a little bit of time in the Chicago game, like just like we've been talking about the last 15 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe he'll get 30 minutes, 25 minutes, but I think that'll give Tata an idea of maybe where Messi is at in his recovery. I didn't catch that, but I see you guys cracking up.
I mean, Mitch is saying Chris has the cuisine of a 10-year-old. I don't trust his opinion. Listen, I eat some fancy stuff, okay? Oysters and sushi.
Sushi
Okay.
not fancy, bro.
I was talking to Chris
fancy.
earlier. I was talking to Chris earlier, and he's like, "What you doing?" I was like, "I'm about to buy some stuff for Taco Tuesday."
Scallops.
And then tell me what did you respond? What's your Tuesday?
I said it's Chicken Tender Tuesday.
The thing is, when he said you have the cuisine of a 10-year-old, that's what popped in my head when you said that earlier.
Jeez, you're like Dominic Mysterio, bro. You love your chicken tenders, huh?
And then Tommy's saying, I bet Chris eats pizza with a fork. Never, nerd.
I do.
Get out of here.
Fork
And
and
so
knife,
does Tommy.
baby.
So does Tommy. You guys are horrible people. Tendy Tuesday. All right. Sorry, Solana. What were you saying before I got distracted with the cuisine comment?
No, I was just saying that I agree with you guys. I think he'll get 20 to 30 minutes in the Chicago game because it's going to give Tata an understanding of where he is in his recovery. And if everything goes as planned, I assume he starts in the next home game, which would be against Philadelphia. So he'll have a couple weeks to kind of rehab again and make sure he's not injured. I mean, and I think he's ready to go for Philadelphia.
Yeah. Chris?
I think the possibility of him playing for against Philly is going to be way higher than playing against Chicago.
So you think that's when he maybe comes back?
Yeah, I think it's more than likely he's going to come back for Philly instead of Chicago. Even though I do feel like maybe just showing up for Chicago because he duped them last time. No pun intended in order to use
Philadelphia.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's probably going to play against Philly more so than Chicago.
Look, I've been saying it for a while that I didn't think he would play against Cincinnati. Even back when I thought that Cincinnati wasn't even going to be a game, I thought he would come back against Chicago maybe for a little bit. Now, the whole Argentina thing threw me a little bit, though, because I thought that the Chicago game would be like a warm-up. He'd play, come in, and then warm up for the qualifiers. The fact that he is no longer playing in the qualifiers did give me a little doubt. I was like, well, maybe he won't play against Chicago then. Maybe they are going to give him these 3 extra weeks to rest up. But I'm going to stick with it. I just think that he's going to come back for that game. Just because it's in Chicago, such a big stadium, and he missed it last year, if he's healthy enough to go. I don't think they're going to force him back because we're close to the end of the season. They're not going to take any risk. But if he's healthy to come back, I think they'll let him play the 20, 30 minutes.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to mention because Gus says, but Chris, yesterday you said, and why? Danny brought up either Philly or Chicago, right? I feel like Philly would be the better bet versus the Chicago game.
When do they play New York? The week
New
after
York play.
Philly?
They play the week after Philly. Now, the reason that I didn't say yesterday Philly is because after Philly, 4 days later, they play against Atlanta. Then 3 days later, they play against New York. So between New York and Charlotte, you have 7 days. Then you got 4 days until Columbus. You got 3 days until Toronto. And then you're ending the season 2 weeks later against New England. So I felt like the best game to bring him back with is against New York City. But at the same time, if we're talking between Philadelphia and Chicago, I'm going to go with Philadelphia.
I will tell you, there's no chance he plays that Atlanta game, right?
No way.
No chance.
On turf, middle of the week, coming back from an injury, no way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tommy, one time, but there's no way you see Messi in Atlanta. Just like last year, because they missed out on him last year. No way I see him playing this year in Atlanta either.
I'll tell you this, Danny and Chris. I'm looking at the schedule for the rest of the season. We talked about it on the Spanish show last night, but there's, Atlanta is going to be on turf. Charlotte on the 28th will be on turf. And the Charlotte game's at home. I apologize, but Toronto on October 5th will be on turf. So those are two games where you're probably going to have to keep an eye on, depending on where Miami is in the standings when those games are played. Certain players might not play because you want to protect their knees getting later into the season. So those are two games, as well as the Columbus game, that you're probably going to want to circle on the calendar if you're an Inter Miami fan for games where some of these players or some of our stars might be sitting out for those games.
Doesn't Soldier Field play on natural grass?
They do. I just checked it. That's why.
Okay, because I had Skrilla asking if it's on turf. I believe Soldier Field is on natural grass, even though a lot of NFL stadiums are going to the artificial turf. But Chicago is natural grass.
Kentucky bluegrass and rye, if you want to get it straight.
All right. Sorry. So I think Philly. Solana thinks Philly. Chris thinks.
I think Philly.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I think Chicago. Solana thinks Chicago.
And Chris
thinks Philly, and possibly New York. Regardless, we all think he's going to come back before the playoffs. Correct? I don't think that he's because some people are saying that he's not going to play until the playoffs. I don't see how that's possible. I really don't. Maybe, but I highly, highly doubt it.
I think those people that are saying that are either misinformed or they're just trying to throw something out there and see if it sticks. And if he doesn't play, then they'll come back out and say, "Oh, I said so. I said so." But to be honest, I don't think they truly know or have real information knowing if he's going to play later.
Or maybe they're being strategic and they're putting it out there. See if somebody puts their tickets on sales for cheap, right? And then hey, you put your tickets on cheap, I can buy them, and then all of a sudden,
that's actually a good idea. I'm gonna start retweeting all day tomorrow.
Yeah, you go. All right. Now I saw one thing I did see. And JP, there was a Spanish part. We have a Spanish batter here on en español. If you speak Spanish or you just want to hang out, because you understand it at least. We have every Monday at 10 o'clock. We do have Battered Herons en Español. The three of us with Xavier Lavos do the show in Spanish. I have no info. I just want to prove Solana wrong. I love that joker.
Everybody does, though. Everybody does.
Everybody does prove him wrong, yes.
No, everybody wants to prove me wrong.
All right. Now, okay, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, and don't forget to watch the MLS show tonight at 9 o'clock.
Oh, yes. At 9 o'clock, battered MLS fans are going to be going, and I'm going to put the link there in the chat just in case anybody hasn't already. At 9 o'clock, we're going to go live at 9 o'clock to talk. We're going to have the 4 finalists. We're going to have a podcaster from Philly, from Columbus, LAFC, and Colorado. Isn't it crazy that we were like, oh, man, the only way we could host the final against that MLS team is if Colorado makes it? If Colorado's in the semifinal, like there was a legitimate chance that if we made the final, that we could have hosted it even against an MLS team in Colorado, which is wild. I never thought Colorado would make it that far.
Well, you want to know what's more wild? And I read it on today on Twitter. Apparently, if Philadelphia wins their U.S. Open Cup match, even though they lost the other day, they'll still claim one of the CONCACAF Champions Cups.
What was that? Say that again?
If Sporting KC wins their U.S. Open Cup match, because they're in the semifinals, and I think they play the Indy 11, or they play some small team, they will qualify for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, even though they lost in Leagues Cup, which if you start looking at the teams that are going to qualify, obviously the winner of Leagues Cup, and I think second place of Leagues Cup qualify directly, right? So that's 2 MLS teams. Depending on who wins MLS Cup, I mean, you might have like the top 8 teams in MLS qualify because of all these different winners in U.S. Open Cups and stuff like that.
And that's going to open a whole other can of worms for the U.S. Open next year all over again. But so on Saturday, I haven't checked or confirmed. I haven't had time, unfortunately. I'm back to work, so things are just a little more complicated for me now. I haven't checked, but I've been seeing circulating around Twitter that if we win on Saturday, we officially clinch a playoff spot.
That's correct.
I don't doubt it, right? Because we have so many points already. I don't doubt it. I haven't double checked that. So I'm just going to put that out there with the asterisk of I haven't checked that myself. Solana said it's correct. All right. I'm going to go with it. Once we clinch, if we win and we clinch, are you worried about the way the rest of the season plays out? No, you don't. You made it to the dance, and that's what you're worried about.
I think that's all. I think at that point you just have to make sure. And I know we've had a lot of discussions on this. I know you want the croqueta plate. Chris is indifferent about the croqueta plate. Everybody
never
wants the
wanted
MLS
it.
Cup. No,
Yeah.
you want it because you want to be
I
able
want
to
it.
go to
I
all
want
the
it now.
home games.
for the home games. That I understand. But again, I think personally, I think health is got to be the number one thing on Inter Miami's mind, because health, if the team is fully healthy, I honestly think there's no team in the MLS that can compete with them.
Okay, and look, Jason L and Florida Man are both saying that Inter Miami themselves put it out there. So I mean, I would hope that they know what they're talking about. So it sounds like it is confirmed. If they win, they clinch. Okay, I've been out of the loop a bit over the last couple of days.
I'll tell you, I want both trophies. I want both.
Does the Supporter Shield count as a trophy? Like, you
I
know how
want
they
both.
counted
I
all
want
the
both.
trophies that Messi has won in his career, like with teams? Does that count as one? I don't know if the Supporter Shield counts.
No.
Yeah, of course. I think it does. Yeah,
Yes.
Are you
No,
sure?
it does count.
it does.
We don't have the League's Cup. We couldn't repeat for that. We don't have the cup that we
Champions
had.
League.
Yeah, the Champions Cup, right? We can't even participate for the US Open Cup, which, by the way, I just want everybody to know. Fun fact, Seattle played Sacramento on July 9th, guys. Guess what the attendance was for that US Open Cup banger? Just take
Give
a
it to me.
guess. Just
3,000
no.
people.
Huh?
1,000.
No, it was 7,000. It was 7,000.
Okay.
I was gonna
That's
go
not
with like 45, the 22 players, some coaches, and some staff. But
That's not that bad.
For a
7,000 isn't a bad
quarterfinal,
turnout.
that's awful.
For an Open Cup game is not that bad. Open Cup games are usually a lot worse than that, so that's not
I
that
just wanted to mention.
bad. Okay.
Just wanted to mention that.
All right. So I still want the croqueta plate, like I said. If we win on Saturday, we still have 8 games, but I feel like we're so close to having home field throughout the playoffs. Look, if we play a team like, let's say, LAFC in the final, if we make the final, I'm playing against an LAFC, I think it'll make a world of difference to play at home rather than in LA with that atmosphere and everything. I understand that we can still probably win. We still have the team to win, but I would much prefer to play at home. We're a much better team at home. We don't lose at home very often. I mean, we don't lose in general very often, but at home we don't lose very often either. So I kind of want to do it at home.
that sounds kind of nice. That sounds kind of nice when you say that. We don't lose in general very often.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
4 times in the regular season.
you haven't had a chance to say that in 4 years, so it must feel nice coming off your lips.
100%. It feels great.
I just want to throw another fun fact here. LAFC played New Mexico. How many attended that? 6,000.
Are you trying to call out the black and gold? Is that what you're trying to do, Chris?
I'm just trying to call out that the attendance is pretty awful for these US Open Cup games. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there, guys. For any of you who like numbers, there's some numbers.
And Joe right here, Supporter Shield might be our only chance at CCC spot next year. Well, that's also another point. If you win the Supporter Shield, you automatically qualify for the Champions Cup. So that's another positive there. And hypothetically, if the team that wins the Supporter Shield were to win the Leagues Cup or were to win the MLS Cup, then the team with the second best record also gets the Champions Cup. So, I mean, you could still end up with the second best record and still qualify if LAFC, let's say, win the Leagues Cup or they win the MLS Cup. So there's other ways to make it. I have a feeling we're going to make it one way or another.
I'm curious though, like if you had, because obviously this year there was a lot of schedule congestion. That's why Inter Miami didn't take part in the U.S. Open, right? Next year with the Club World Cup coming and one of the teams or maybe a couple teams from the MLS being invited because they're the host country, that's also going to cause some commotion in the schedule because next summer, you'll have the Club World Cup, you have the Gold Cup, which there's rumors of international teams coming to play it. So if you're an Inter Miami fan, would you prefer, obviously with all the schedule congestion, do you still prefer the Club World Cup, or do you prefer the Club World Cup or the Champions Cup?
I'm going to be a downer. If people tell us that we're going to have a hard time winning Champions Cup because we can't win games in Mexico, why on earth would I want this team to go up against a team like a Real Madrid or Bayern Munich? Like, I don't want this team to get mollywopped. Like, I don't think that we're there talent-wise. And unless we get rid of a salary cap, we'll never be there. And I'm okay with that because I'm okay with competing within us. If we start competing against teams in Europe, I think that it's just going to give more people reason to kind of just look at us and be like, you guys are never going to be us. Obviously, we're not going to be you guys because we have a salary cap. So the thought of them sharing a pitch with a Real Madrid, a Bayern Munich, a Liverpool, a Man City, I get it. It's cool to imagine sharing that pitch with that team, but we know how that's going to go. And for that reason, I'm not really that excited about it.
I'm on the
I just
opposite
want to
side of
mention.
the fence.
Are you okay?
I just want to mention here, Sean Callahan, the attendance for Leagues Cup is just as abysmal. Last but not least, Indy 11, who is supposed to be, I guess, this brand new team that's gonna come and destroy everybody. I know, yes, it's supposed to be like the best. Yeah, right. A great following. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, against Atlanta. You want to know how many people showed up to that game, guys?
1,000.
2,100 people.
That's the game that Don Garber mistakenly said was hosted in Atlanta.
That's the one where they mentioned over the MLS All-Star break, right? That he said how are you going to open a stadium for 3,000 people?
Yeah, and it was and that game was played in Indianapolis. So he was off on that.
I'm just reading numbers, guys.
That's fine. Well, Chris, tell me, do you want to get your ass kicked in the World Cup? Like, if you had to pick one, the World Club Cup, is that what they're calling it? What is it? The World Cup
Club World Cup.
The Club World Cup. I'm sorry, the Club World Cup. Would you rather get your ass kicked there, or would you rather compete in the Champions Cup?
I mean, but if you play for the world one, that's going to get more eyes on the team, right? I imagine that's going to.
We don't need any more eyes on. We got plenty of people watching.
Well,
the team
I mean,
look, we got Messi.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Not everybody is like dying to run to an Apple device to be able to watch to watch Inter Miami now. Right? The spice isn't about.
Thank you, baby.
The
spice
isn't as nice at this moment as it was in the beginning. Let's not kid ourselves.
What you're excited about is getting our ass kicked in front of more viewers.
Well, do we have a chance to not get our ass kicked?
Depending on, I mean, it all depends on the group that you have. Remember, there's going to be teams from all over the world, competing here from South America. And look, I don't know, I don't think they have a chance to win it. But I'm on your side in terms of the viewership because I think it's important for Inter Miami to be on the pitch with a Real Madrid, with a Man City, not necessarily because they're going to get rocked. I don't care about that, but it talks about the prestige of the club, and it's a big difference if you're going to play against.
We were saying one or the other, but we were saying one or the other. You were saying Champions Cup or the Club World Cup. Yeah, and Club World Cup. I'd rather be in the international tournament that I feel I could possibly win. Like I understand what you're saying, and that's why I said seeing them on the same pitch as these top clubs in the world, it's cool. But I'm more for the parity, and that's why I am against getting rid of the salary cap. I don't want to see us get our ass kicked. We got our ass kicked by a B team Barcelona 2 summers ago, 6-0, and we didn't hear the end of it. Like I don't want to see that again.
That was also,
look, Vinny Jr. versus Cello. Could you imagine?
Dude,
that would be.
I mean, you also had guys. I mean, you had Chris McVeigh playing center back against Barcelona. I mean, let's be real.
No, but that was like a friendly. That was a friendly.
Our team is better now. I know, but that's another good point. That was a friendly. Wait, so what about when it's not?
That was a gimme game. That was a gimme game. That wasn't for stakes. I think playing on the biggest. I think playing on the biggest stage.
Cello. Oh boy.
That would be awful. I think playing on the biggest stage. Hold on to your point real quick, Solana. I think that the playing on the biggest stage is going to be great because you're going to have access to these players who are playing in leagues way above us, right? Seeing the team and saying, "Hey, you know what? They're not bad. Maybe I could think about going over there in a year or two." And then when Messi skedaddles, right, retires and starts coaching next to Higuain, then we can be able to go ahead and get somebody else to fill that role.
I think you nailed it on the head, Chris, because I think when other players come and they play the Club World Cup here, especially the South American players. And I know you guys are talking about that's funny. But hey, what if it was Vinny against Frey? What if it was
Just
Vinny
real
against
quick.
Frey?
Somebody in the chat wrote Haaland versus Kristoff. Oh, that.
But I mean, I think you nailed it, Chris. If you get these players coming over and Inter Miami's in there and they have a great fan base at the games and the players see that, it could be a tipping point or a selling point for some of the, the front office of Inter Miami to get some of these other players when they're, on the fence about going to Saudi Arabia or coming to the US, because that seems to be kind of the two ways where where most of these players are going.
Yeah, but that's
You think that's a pipe dream, Danny?
No,
you think that's really
the point that he just made about Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabia, I tweeted
they
out
got too much money.
the other day. Yeah, I tweeted out the other day. The Vinicius got offered. How much was it? Was it like $2 billion for I don't know how much for how many years? And he turned it down.
2 years. Yeah,
he turned it down. Do you think if Miami offers Vinicius $2 million to come live and play in Miami for 2 years, he's gonna turn it down? Hell no.
No, but you know what? But maybe they'll offer him 10 million or 30 million instead of the billion. And he'll be like, hey, you know what? I like Miami because when I was down there, they had a great fan base.
But he's down here all the time anyway.
Yeah, man. But he doesn't go to the games. He's not at the stadium. But maybe if Inter Miami plays Real Madrid, I'm just saying the exposure.
If he
that it
comes
would bring
to the stadium,
hopefully
huge. Messi's playing because he's not going to like the atmosphere when Messi's not playing.
No, it'll be full anyways. It'll be full. Fake Real Madrid fans that are really fans of somebody else.
And just real quick, shout out to Johan Mojica. He put Rodrigo in his pocket of Mallorca when they played against Real Madrid. I want to make sure all my Colombians listen. Mojica put it on Sunday. He was probably the MVP for Mallorca on Sunday against Real Madrid that they drew 0-0. So wanted to put that out there.
I just got to, before we move on to the next subject, I got to give everybody tons of credit for these Cello versus Vinny's, these Kristoffs versus Bellingham. Like, I mean, you guys
Could you imagine Tata tactics? He throws in Noah Allen to defend Haaland on a corner kick or something.
Oh my god! He doesn't even
get to his hip. I don't think he reaches his hip.
I know. Poor Noah Allen. Tata be like, come on, Noah, you got this. You got this. Oh man, no. Like I said, if we can do both, let's do both. I'm all for both. But if I could pick one, I'm going Champions Cup, man.
I'll tell you who would be showing out playing against those teams and those players.
Bright.
And that's not Bright.
He's gonna give you RT, baby.
Dos Striker.
Oh,
CJ.
Dos Salsa. Are you kidding me?
He would definitely get to show his foot skills. That's for sure.
He definitely have opportunities to do that. All right, so let's end it with this. We talked about Messi. Now there was one person that did get called up. The rumor is that he was going to get called up, and this one left me with my head. It was a head scratcher. Rumors are that Luis Suarez, it hasn't been confirmed, but Luis Suarez is apparently being called up to the qualifiers in September. Luis Suarez barely touched the pitch during Copa America. Why on earth would he go ahead and participate in more World Cup qualifiers when they're not playing him? Like, I get country over club and all that, but man, you're no longer playing. Like, go talk to Jordi Alba, go talk to Busquets. They were able to retire and walk away.
Yeah.
Do the same thing, man. Like,
go play FIFA with these guys. Get out of here.
Man. They're not letting you play. So just that's it. Come over here. Stay over here. We need you. Stay healthy. Well, I mean, he's not playing, so I guess he's not going to get injured. But Solana, you're Mr. Uruguay. Give me what's your take?
So let's remember a couple of things. Let's go back 6 weeks and let's remember, the Rumble in Charlotte. And there's going to be a lot of players who have yet to have been suspended. At least that's the rumor. So I know that the Conmebol is going to get together on this Monday coming up, the 26th in Paraguay, where the Uruguayan attorneys are going to be talking to the disciplinary committee in Asunción, and they're going to get to know some of the suspensions of some of the players. So I know that the list that Loco Bielsa gave was 40 players. Suarez is rumored to be one of the 40 names on that list. but also knowing the amount of suspensions that Uruguay might suffer, which could be north of 10 suspensions based off of everything that was kind of said post that game. I think that's the reason why Suarez was called up. Remember, Suarez is probably the greatest Uruguayan player to ever play, and he feels like he owes it to the country and to the people to be there and to kind of continue to carry the torch, especially during this tough time. So that's why I think he was called. And if he does go, I would expect him to play. Maybe not 90 minutes both games, but I do expect him to play. It was obvious when he went in the third place game that he gave the team a lot in the offensive end
boost.
And I would definitely expect him to play.
Chris?
No, I mean, I agree. I think that for as little time that he gets, I mean, they do see that he makes an impact, right? I mean, Shady B says passion, vomit, whatever, I guess, because it's club over country. So I guess that makes sense, right? Marasovic, locker room, maybe, I guess. I mean,
I thought Copa America was like the perfect way. I felt like he ended his unless he plans on playing in the World Cup, which I doubt. I felt like that third place game was the perfect way to go out. You scored a goal, got your team to third place in the Copa America or whatnot. Like I felt like that was it. That was an appropriate way to go out. I don't know why he would keep going.
I don't think it's necessary, but I can understand why players would do that. So it's not.
Look, Uruguay is also very thin on forwards, as you saw in the Copa America. Yeah. It was basically Darwin or nothing.
Nunez, that's it, yeah.
Right. And if Darwin gets suspended, like a lot of folks, Mitch is talking about it, and Jeff Van had asked what punishment is Nunez getting. We'll find out on Monday. So obviously, if your number one forward is going to be suspended, and Suarez was the backup in the Copa America, I mean,
yeah,
that's
in that aspect. I had forgotten about that whole rumble in Charlotte.
Yeah, I remember that's where they did the Lion King. Like, I mean, let me not desensitize. I'm so sorry about that. Let me not cartoonize what happened there. Let me get out of here. Joe Rako saying Campana will get his chance to shine again.
Well,
that's true.
Let's be very clear. I think it's important to mention MLS isn't playing during the World Cup qualifiers in September or October.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's technically not going to miss. He might miss games because he might need some rest once he comes back. But they're not playing through that. So it's not like he's going to be missing a game. Like if he doesn't get on the pitch with Uruguay, he can still come back and play. So he's technically not missing games. I just don't want him to get injured while he's out there. Because in September, World Cup qualifiers against Bolivia, I believe it was, or was it against Bolivia that Messi got injured? And then we just never saw him again. We saw him for a couple minutes against Toronto, I believe. Then he came back for the last game against Charlotte, and that was it. That was it for the season. So for that reason, and the season's about coming to an end, I really just would like to not have these guys play in those qualifiers.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else? I think that's about it. Unless anybody in the chat chimes in with absolutely anything that they want to plug or anything. I don't have anything else, Chris.
I just want to end it with saying that the highest attendance in the quarterfinals for Open Cup was 7,000 people. The lowest attendance for Leagues Cup was like 8,800 people.
Correct, Ed. Messi was not called up. So we were, and you can go back if you missed it. We were talking about it earlier about how, well, me and Solana think that he'll be back for Chicago. Chris thinks he'll be back for Philadelphia, which would be the safe route because that would give him an additional 3 weeks to rest up. But I think that he'll play some time in Chicago, but we'll see. And he said, Danny looks weird without a hat on. I want to say for most of the summer, I haven't worn a hat. I've gone hatless for the majority of the summer. So, all right. Any final words, Solana?
Just one thing. If any of you who watch us have kids, there's gonna be a soccer clinic this weekend at Soccer City. If you guys are not aware where that is, it's 2400 Northwest 110th Avenue. Chilean legend, Bamban Ivan Zamorano is going to be hosting it. It's for kids of all ages. If you want to get in contact or want to go, reach out to me on social media. I can send you the information, but it's going to be a great activity for your kids, to do a clinic with a superstar. and also to get to meet him. So absolutely, just want to let you guys know, for those of you that have kids.
Chris, any final words?
I do not use any coloring for my beard, okay? Because I'm not a piece of crap. And then I just want to mention something here. Methuz is saying comparing LC to USOC reeks of ignorance and desperation. Methuz, I'm just reading numbers, buddy. If you think I'm attacking you, look, I'm just reading, Danny. I'm just reading.
And before I say my next comment, if you haven't already, please do us a favor. There's almost like 100.
Like and subscribe before I kick everybody else out.
Because it actually does help us quite a bit when you guys like the video. So we do appreciate that. And now to this Methus comment, I had MLS Moves on the MLS show. I know Solana's done a lot of shows with him also. He put up a comparison of the FS1 numbers from last year compared to this year for the Leagues Cup and how they've taken the dip. There's a lot of people that want to compare these two just so they can shit on the Leagues Cup. I don't know why MLS Moves or anyone would compare FS1 numbers when the majority of people are watching this on Apple TV. More people have Apple subscriptions than they had last summer. Like they've now assimilated, right? Because Leagues Cup started in the summer last year. So people were just watching whichever way they could. After Leagues Cup was over, the start of this season, people started getting more Apple subscriptions. Apple subscriptions have gone up. So the numbers are skewed. I do not understand why anybody would compare those numbers. I get that it does get a lot of traction. Kind of like we just asked you guys to like this video. The more comments he gets, the more shares he gets, the more views he gets. It's better for him. So I get that aspect of it. But I think it's silly to compare Leagues Cup last year to this year because we all understand that Messi drove those numbers up last year.
Yeah, but I mean, before we go, just out of curiosity, because and I'm with you, Danny. I don't think it's fair to compare. But how many folks that don't live in the United States have Apple TV? And so, and
well, I promise you, the ones that don't have Apple TV outside the United States also don't have FS1.
Right.
Well,
but that's why it's maybe a little unfair to look at it that way, because you would have to look at all the numbers in terms of the Mexican fans of whatever station is being passed the games or whether. I don't know. I think it is Apple TV or I'm not, honestly, I'm not sure. So, but I would love to see those numbers to see what some of those were.
That's interesting. Ace, perfect way to end the show. Perfect way to end the show. I like the video once Danny watches John Wick. Get out of here, Danny.
All right. And then for those of you that want to just hang out at 9 o'clock, we're going to go with 4 of the podcasters from the semifinal teams for the Leagues Cup. So if you're interested in that, I just put the link in the chat. You click on that. That's the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll be going live in like 15, 17 minutes or so. So we'll be doing that. And I think that we're done for today. We appreciate you guys hanging out. So if you are on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share. Tell your friends that we are the go-to Inter Miami podcast, and we love that you guys hang out with us for the last 44 minutes. And for those of you in the chat, as always, you guys are the best part of the show. Doesn't matter who we are, whether it's Chris, me, Solana, doesn't matter who's on here. You guys by far make the show. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And Florida, man, I haven't forgotten about the scarf, dude. I've been really busy. It's the first week of school. But if you are subscribed to both the MLS channel and also the Battered Herons en Espanol, I will be giving away the Fusion scarf. I don't even have it here right now. So I'll be doing that giveaway. I promise you, Florida, man. And if you don't win it, Florida, man, I'll figure out something to get you. I promise. Even if it's a bumper sticker for the Fusion, I got you, Florida, man. But I am going to do that hopefully tomorrow. I'm a little busy. I've been a little busy.
And if you watch Keanu Reeves movies, I'll throw your name in the basket a couple more times. So
fuck the Open Cup, Sean. All right. We appreciate you guys. And until the next one, have a good one.